It's Sunday morning, and every decent man and woman is listening to Test Miles with Nick Miles on FM News 101 KXL. Buckle in.
Easter weekend, a time to talk cars. The next 60 minutes on your weekly automotive radio experience. I'm Nick Miles, and you're listening to America's Automotive Radio Show, keeping you connected to the automotive industry. Test Miles, locally created, nationally celebrated, fun and excitement this week. What we've been driving, how great was the New York Auto Show. Joel Fetter's here to talk about some of the cars that we saw in the Big Apple. Can your car be hacked? Jeff Zerschmied is going to be here to explain how easy or not it is to get into your car via hacking. And Ryan, our auto detailer, is here. He's from Afterglow, and he'll be talking about some amazing new products. So what I've been driving this week, the Mazda CX-3. Here's a couple things about this car. It is the very smallest of the SUVs that's available in North America. And this is a growing segment, one of the fastest segments in the automotive industry growing. I've been driving the touring version of it. 5 seats. It has some very basic things that you don't often see in cars that are non-luxury. Things like a pollen filter or a first aid kit, remote hood latch. A lot of these things that are kind of cool. Comes in 6 colors, a 2-liter 4-cylinder. 146 horsepower seems enough for this vehicle. The SkyActiv system, of course, which Mazda have championed to help in fuel economy. A 6-speed automatic with a manual, and it also has those shifters in sports mode. All-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, up to 32 miles a gallon. What does it go up against? A Buick Encore, by the way, a new one of those showed up at New York this year. The Jeep Renegade, probably my favorite in the segment. The Chevy Trax, and also the Honda HR-V. So we're talking a subcompact small car SUV version of those. Mazda has lots of cool tech like a mobile start in this vehicle. It also has their connected system, 7-inch screen, pretty nice size for a small vehicle like this. They use the Gremlin navigation system, and it also has an immobilizer in case of theft. $22,000 is the starting price. I'll tell you, I'm kind of a fan of the new Mazdas. My parents are going to be buying the new CX-5. All right, the New York International Auto Show opens to the public on Friday. It started in 1900. Brad tells us that the first show was pretty cool. The show pushes forward 116 years. It now has more than 1,000 cars, trucks, and SUV. It's bigger than Buckingham Palace on the inside, with 1 million people visiting the show over the next week. So, what cars did we see in New York? To walk us through some of the most exciting cars is Joel Fetter. He is the interactive content manager for Car Connection, Motor Authority, and Green Car Reports. Joel, welcome to the show. Let's start with some of the extraordinary green cars at the show. I noticed a lot of green cars showing up there. One of them that was the Hyundai Ioniq. This is probably married to the Kia Niro, which was their sort of SUV hybrid that they showed in the fall. I'm guessing it's built on the same platform. But Hyundai not really played much in the green car sphere until this new Ioniq.
Yeah, I mean, to date, the green Hyundais have basically been, they'll have direct injection, everything to get good fuel economy with gas mileage, but they've had a hybrid of the Optima, and that's about it. But now we've been hearing for years they want to go against the Prius and knock it off the throne. And they've told us they want to come out with a car that will be the first car in the world that has all 3 versions of a plug-in hybrid, a regular hybrid, and an all-electric version. And this is the car. And, of course, last month we saw Geneva, or earlier this month, I guess. And now we've seen the New York Auto Show with U.S. specs. And it's impressive, 110 miles on the all-electric version and really good fuel economy both in the plug-in and the non-plug-in version. It's great looking. It looks a little more normal than a Prius, right?
It still has that split. I noticed at the back, it was the first thing I noticed, it has a split rear glass.
But that's great for visibility, really. And once you get used to the thing in the middle, it's really great to have that split window. It gives you better visibility because you can see up and down when you're going out.
Do you think that they're going to make any inroads? Because they have one piece of technology that nobody else has developed, and that's that lithium polymer battery, which supposedly holds more charge for longer. But that's really one of the only technologies that they use that nobody else uses.
Well, obviously none of us have driven it, right? But Consumer Reports actually did get a chance to drive it before the New York Auto Show, and I did. We're friends with those guys too. I watched their video on it, and one of the things they noted was it drives like a normal car. And that's not something you can say about the Prius. To date, until the new Prius, the Prius has always been a rather boring appliance. Now, the new Prius, they really made strides to make it sporty. Hyundai wanted this to be a normal car. You're not driving an Econobox and you're not in a penalty box for driving to get gas mileage. They want to be a normal car for a normal person. And I think that could be the ticket. Plus, the new Prius has really polarizing style, so it's either a good thing or a bad thing. And this one doesn't have polarizing style, so that could be a big player for it.
Yeah, I noticed it was very, and I don't want to be rude to Hyundai because I think they did a good job in producing this car, but it looks very Civic-y to me.
I'd say it looks sharp. I'd say it looks a little older Civic. I think it looks sharp. I think it looks sleek. I don't think it's polarizing. I think that's the thing with the Prius. That's either going to play really well for it or really badly. And moving in, I mean, talking about green cars, Toyota Prius, the Prime, that's their plug-in model they introduced there with 22 miles of electric range. They don't have an all-electric Prius, which of course the Ioniq does. The new Prime has a distinct front and rear clip and a big touchscreen in the center display inside, so it sets itself apart from the regular Prius lineup. This could be the way that Toyota gets into plug-in cars, but it's very widely known. Toyota doesn't like plug-in cars. They think hydrogen is the future. So,
I don't know. I'm going to agree with him, and I think hydrogen is the future. The trouble is there's no infrastructure, so that's where the whole thing falls down. I mean, if there was infrastructure for hydrogen, it would be great, but there's no infrastructure, so you're not tethered with a hydrogen vehicle. You can fill up, but if you can't find a place to fill up, you're in trouble.
But I can fill up my house in an electric car.
Yes, but as long as you don't mind charging 12 hours, or having a special charging adapter put in the house.
240 amp. That's what your dryer takes.
Let's talk a little bit about the SUVs in plugins. Mitsubishi introduced their Outlander PHEV.
Finally, again.
Right, but they say this is the world's first. And I challenged them on that. So I challenged them, and they said it actually is the world's first. It just hasn't been available in America.
So they're right. And we wrote a big thing on this in Green Car Reports. It was the world's first plug-in hybrid SUV. So here's the thing. It hasn't been available in the U.S., and it still won't be until the fall. It's been delayed numerous times. They've changed the setup and the specs, and they still don't have finalized U.S. specifications for this car yet. It's not launched until the fall. In the meantime, since it's unveiled and gone on sale worldwide outside of us, we have the plug-in from the luxury automakers. We have the BMW X5 plug-in. We're going to have an Audi plug-in. We have the all-electric Tesla plug-in.
Have you driven that BMW X5?
I have. I had it 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Right. It is amazing.
I think it's really good. I had apparently a different experience than other people. I really like it. I think that nothing I'm going to complain about isn't fixable with a little more tuning to the software.
Right.
I had some bad transitions with the 1-2 shift and the power transition when all electric to hybrid mode. It was a little jittery for me, but I think all those things are, things that are totally fixable software updates.
Let's run into the SUVs.
Yep.
Jeep Grand Cherokee, 2 different trim levels. This vehicle is coming to the end of its life cycle, and so they're presumably introducing trim levels because they're trying to boost the car a bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's the Trailhawk, which is the off-road model, we now have the Trailhawk Renegade, which is their small subcompact SUV, and we have the Trailhawk version of their mid-size compact, whatever you want to call it, Cherokee. And both those are really hot-selling trim levels, despite what they thought, because they're off-road oriented, they don't do as well on the road, but it's hot looking, and people want a hot looking SUV, and so that's what sells.
Up front and special suspension.
Tow hooks that are red. You got special wheels and tires, and then you got the Summit model, which they already had a Summit model, but this one's even flashier, more satin chrome, flashier wheels, more leathers,
high end leather, like the highest end leather they've ever had.
It's quilted leather, Quilted leather.
The one thing I will just jump back to the Trailhawk version is now they have these Goodyear tires on them that have Kevlar on the outside, so you can't puncture them. I mean, it's kind of interesting. It's not necessarily an article. I wouldn't write an article about it, but I would tell you it's kind of an interesting selling point.
It is an interesting selling point. I mean, it's an interesting selling point.
Mercedes-Benz AMG GLC 43.
We've known that's coming, and they also got the coupe version.
Yeah, and the coupe version to me is it. I think, look, I'm a European. I like hatches. But I talked to Bart Herring from Mercedes, and he said, you put a label of a hatch on anything in the US, nobody buys it.
Right.
Call it a coupe.
Except for GTI.
All right, except for GTI. Call it a coupe. Everybody buys it.
This is the latest in their let's coupe all things. We had the CLS, which is the first coupe. Now we got the GLE coupe. Now we've got the GLC coupe. We're going to totally end up. Well, we also have the GLA, which is basically a lifted hatchback.
Right.
I wouldn't be shocked to see a GLS coupe, frankly.
All right. Buick Encore, new version.
It's really a refreshed version.
All right. So let's say refreshed version then. Buick say that the Encore is their best-selling vehicle in their lineup, but it's my least favorite.
It is their best-selling Buick. We've actually talked about this internally. Their numbers, it is absolutely their best-selling Buick in their lineup. People want compact and mid-sized crossovers, and that's what that is. People want them.
Finally, just quickly, let's talk about the Acura MDX hybrid.
This is an interesting vehicle because what they've done is taken a hybrid. They take the hybrid version system from the Acura NSX supercar and reversed it for the electric motors in the rear and the gas engine in the front with the electric motor in the front, and they put it in there minus the turbos. That's really interesting. The disappointing part is because of its weight, we're looking at only about 26 miles per gallon.
Yeah.
That's not stellar.
26 on the highway and 26 also average. It's 25, I think, in the city. Here's the thing I do like about that vehicle, though. They have the new front, which is going to be seen, I guess, on all the Acuras.
Yes,
it's kind of flashy.
that was Precision Concept from Detroit that showed that concept.
All right, and also the fact that a lot of people miss this about the new Acuras, but they have that follow feature where it will follow the car in front. You don't have to touch the steering wheel. It's actually available on a lot of cars in the market today.
It is unfortunate they have that dual screen infotainment system still, though.
Yeah, I would tell you, Honda and Acura's infotainment systems, they're not what I like so much. All right, we're going to talk more about the New York International Auto Show when we come back with Joel Feder. He's here in studio. This is Test Miles. I'm Nick Miles.
Test Miles, like NASCAR, but with one right turn. TestMiles.com.
Staying connected with the automotive world, you're listening to our little car show, Test Miles. I'm your host, Nick Miles, and we're joined in studio by Sean, by Jen, and by Joel Feder. He is here. Fun on the radio, TV, and on mobile at Test Miles.
Fun fact for the day is congratulations to Toyota. They're celebrating their 50th year anniversary. They will make a special edition 2,000 of the 2017 cars. In total, they've sold 43 million Corollas overall.
The Corolla are, of course, a big thing. So they sold 43 million Corollas, and I worked it out to count, and I was probably doing very little at the time to work this out. To count from 1 to 43 million would take you 2 years to do that. So that's a lot of cars produced. With Joel Feder, we're talking about the New York International Auto Show. Joel, there was really not many trucks introduced at the show. The only one really was the gas version of the Titan, right?
Well, it's the gas version Titan, but it's also the 1500. So
Right.
the current one is, I don't know if you want to call it 2500 or 3500. It's a tweener. It's a non-heavy duty. Heavy duty. I think it's like 700 pounds of heavy duty.
Right.
But
it's kind of between 1,500 and 2,500.
Yeah, but it's a heavy duty. I've driven it. It's huge.
And it's all right. So the only single truck, but what other vehicles really caught your eye? I mean, there's a lot of small cars introduced. There were sports cars. What tickled your fancy?
Well, I mean, my fancy, but also, really, I watched the traffic on our sites, and what really brought a lot of attention was the Z01, Camaro Z01, 640 horsepower, 640 pound-feet of torque. It's a Z06 in the Alpha ATS platform. I mean,
Right.
really. Detuned by 10 horsepower.
All right.
So that brought a lot of power, coupe and convertible. Nissan Skyline GTR. It's another refresh. We don't have a new one, but it's a major refresh. It's a new dashboard. It's 20 more horsepower and 4 pound-feet of torque. Updated front end and slightly rear and it's supposedly more luxurious and easier to drive, which are two things I really care about in my sports car, frankly. And then also the Mazda, and they call it the MX-5 Miata RF, but let's just call it a Targa, okay? It's a Targa, really. But that thing, that's hot.
Yeah,
That's cool.
it did really look good. All right, before we go on with that, I just want to just touch base with Sean here. Sean, you've been driving something that wasn't shown at the New York show, but you've been driving the new Honda Accord Coupe, is that right?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, the Honda Accord Coupe, iVTEC V6 engine, 6-speed manual transmission with this, front-wheel drive. It gets 2635 in the fuel economy. It really has no competitors with its market with a coupe because the Camry, the Optima, they don't come out with coupe versions of this, so it's kind of standalone by itself.
I noticed, interestingly enough, people try to put it up against things like the Challenger
And the
as a
CTS
competition, which
coupe.
doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, we were talking about that before the show, and it was like we were.
Well,
looking-
hang on. It's because they're priced similar. That's really a V6 Challenger is priced very similar to a V6 Accord
Yeah,
Coupe.
I
Guess
know,
what?
but
You get similar fuel economy, and one's really good looking.
Would you cross shop them? I don't think people cross shop them, do you?
I would absolutely. So I know who Aaron Bragman from Cars.com is the one that brought this up originally during the launch of the Challenger V6, and he's like, for the same price and the same fuel economy, I can get this. And the reality is, guess what, guys? the Accord Coupe is a great car. I'm going to buy a Challenger V6.
Oh, I would as well. But like even for the competition, I saw
No one's
going
gonna
up
cross
against
shop
the CTS Coupe.
No one's going to cross shop any of that stuff. Wait,
Sean,
what?
What was that? I actually saw someone
ATS
comparing
Coupe.
it. No, the CTS Coupe.
That's dead.
we're done with the CTS Coupe. What tech does it have in it, Sean?
Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, multi rear view cameras. It has their Honda Lane Watch, which I think is one of the best systems, and I'm still shocked that it's not in Acura's yet. But other than that, I mean, it's fun to drive. I prefer it over the sedan. I mean, it does have a little sporty feel to it when you get up on it and get higher RPMs out of it. The sound from the exhaust actually sounds beefy coming from a Honda, not tinny.
And the sound from a Challenger exhaust?
Oh, that's a lot different. That's a whole different
just
sound.
saying, I'm
Even
just
in the
saying.
V6, it sounds better.
That's a different sound altogether. But, starting price, $23,875. And if you want to get one up and fully loaded, you're up in $34,000. It's a decent, stylish coupe for Honda.
All right, let's get back to cars from New York. Thank you, Sean. R8 Spider.
Yeah, okay. We saw, I mean, it's been spied. Like, we
Right.
saw it like 2 months ago.
Right, what else?
So here I was running down because I know we're out of time. So the important ones I think we need to hit, and I can't believe I'm going to say this is an important car we need to talk about, but the Mitsubishi Mirage G4. Hang on. It's important because
I think it's important.
the Mitsubishi Mirage has been a standout, shocking, hot hit for Mitsubishi. And so they're like, whoa, we should bring a sedan version because they sold one in Canada. So again, nothing any of us really truly care about as enthusiasts, but this car has been a standout for them.
Here, I want to tell you why. Here's why, and I've been saying this since the launch,
cheap.
and nobody agrees with me. This car, it might not be. It has a 10-year, 100,000 warranty,
It's
and
cheap.
it's a new car for secondhand money. Yeah, for under $14,000.
Right.
That's
Yeah. My main concern is that
math.
Mitsubishi has no dealer network anymore. Okay, so not a large one. So moving on, because I know we're down on time. Lincoln Navigator concept.
Yeah.
So this is important. The gullwing doors and the concertina, whatever you want to call those
Concertina
stairs.
steps,
Yeah,
yeah.
those things aren't coming to production. But the rest of this car, legitimately, aside from that, accessory organizer in the back, we're basically looking at a Lincoln Navigator, the next gen from next year. 400 horsepower, 3.5.
Wardrobe management system you're talking about. That was the thing.
Yeah,
you did.
whatever. Concept stuff. But it really did look good. And here's the thing. Lincoln needs to stop. They don't need to be Cadillac, who wants to be the Germans.
Right.
They need to be American. And that's what this really is.
All right, Joel Feder, you can find him at Car Connection, Green Car Reports, and Motor Authority. Please email him and send him all your opinions of cars. He loves to hear from you. He's got 1,000 emails in his inbox already. I'm Nick Miles. This is Test Miles. When we come back, find out if your car can be hacked. You'll have some surprising information coming your way. Next on Test Miles, I'm Nick Miles.
Favorite us, tweet us, friend us, love us, all at testmiles.com.
Keeping you connected to the automotive world, you're listening to Test Miles, America's automotive radio show. We'd like to thank you for being part of the Car Nation. For more fun facts, go visit us on Twitter at Test Miles.
Our next fun fact of the day is GTO. Did you know that it stands for Gran Turismo Omagato? Can't say that very well, sorry. This was first used on the Ferrari in the 1962.
Excellent. Thank you, Jen. All right, cars I have been driving, the 2017 Kia Sportage SX. I really like what they did with this vehicle. It has that 2-liter turbo in it with the GDI 4-cylinder engine, 240 horsepower, 6-speed automatic front or all-wheel drive, up to 26 miles a gallon on the freeway. Chevy Equinox, Ford Escape, Honda CR-V, Hyundai Tucson, Nissan Rogue, and RAV4 is what it goes up against. Now the biggest category, by the way, in automotive. 3 trim levels, autonomous emergency braking, starting power level, has that liftgate, automatic liftgate, lane departure warning, and of course a UVO system. I will tell you, fun to drive, no lag in that turbo. This is probably the best version of the car. Now with all-wheel drive, they're going to probably kick some backsides with it. Looks different from the other CUVs. They didn't want it to fit in with the rest of the CUVs, so people could pick it out of the lineup. Everything easy to use. The starting price, $22,990. All right, he is the editor-in-chief of TestMiles.com. He writes for the Oregonian and DigitalTrends.com. Jeff had a story on Digital Trends this week about a book called Car Hacker's Handbook, and it tells you how to hack into the modern car or how easy it is to be done remotely. Automakers are working hard to protect their cars from hacking, but maybe it's just a race against every hacker. It's always a matter of staying one step ahead. Jeff's joining us in studio. Jeff, are we in trouble with hackers?
Not really. There is a danger. Cars now are hackable to the extent that they communicate with things. If you get a car that creates a Wi-Fi hotspot, for example, or has its own any form of communications with the outside world, then that is a point where a hacker can enter the car and take control of things if they know how. Now, what the Car Hacker's Handbook has done is it laid out exactly how you go about this. And it is possible to do it. It is possible to create these exploits that can allow you to take control of someone's car to some extent. What it isn't is easy. The handbook details electronic equipment that you're going to have to make and then know how to use in order to get into a car. And what you have to do is get one of those cars, take the central processing unit computer out of the car, and then reverse engineer it using this equipment. And then once you've got it reverse engineered, you have to be able to go in and analyze the programming code, and there's 100 million lines of it, to find a weakness and then exploit that weakness.
All right,
now,
let me just give you a what if, okay?
Okay.
So what if you do this and hackers know the holes they're looking for? So it isn't
Right.
really looking through 100 million lines. It's looking for the areas they know that you can access in there.
Exactly.
So once they've done it with one, they can put that on the dark web, and that means everybody can hack into the car, right?
You could put an exploit like that on the dark web, and in fact, some researchers, academics, have done that with various vehicles and actually taken control of them from a laptop remotely, and caused you can control acceleration, braking, cruise control, a whole lot of different things you can play with remotely once you have that access.
Now,
It's been done.
I talked to a government official today who obviously can't be named, but at the same time told me that it is possible to do, and you can do it.
You can.
And they know how to do it.
They do.
But which is everything that you've just said. But what's more important, they did point out that once you have that connection with the car, you can get into somebody's cell phone if it's Bluetooth in there, and there goes all your personal info. So that,
Yes.
to me, that's much scarier. Maybe not much scarier than someone taking over my car and using the automatic brakes already, but it's scarier to know that somebody could get all my bank details and everything that's on my phone.
Yeah, well, you can imagine. It doesn't take Tom Clancy to imagine a scenario where there's a key government official and you take over their car, accelerate it to 100 miles an hour, and crash it into a bridge abutment. That there's all sorts of what you might call movie plot themes that you could come up with this. And your friend from the government is exactly right. This stuff can be done, but it's not like you or I can just sort of go out and buy a little box and start controlling people's cars on the freeway randomly.
What's the answer? Do we all drive 72 Impalas?
Well, that would be a good answer. But no, the answer is that the automakers really have to take this book as a wake-up call and raise their game as far as protecting their cars. I mentioned those academics who successfully did these exploits a few years ago, and the automakers have closed the holes that they used to create those exploits. And so, just like you said in your intro, it's a matter of staying one step ahead of the hackers. And this book, though, is a major throwdown with these guys to say, here's how it's done, here's how you do it. And the author of the book makes the point, and I covered this in the story because I interviewed him, that keeping this sort of stuff in the dark works for the bad guys. The bad guys can do this, and if we keep it in the dark, they'll work and nobody will know about it. But if everybody knows about it and it's all on the table, the automakers can respond, the automakers can secure their cars, and make everybody safer.
Let me ask you this question. So there was a big hoopla, and Joel's in the studio too, and maybe he'll have some input into this. There was a big hoopla last year when somebody broke into a Jeep product, but they had been working for a year and a half on breaking into it. They were using, I think, computers at a university. They called them military-grade computers, although I'm not really sure what that means. They did break into the car. They were working with the FCA, the Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, along almost every step of the way, talking to them. They purchased the car. They did this whole break-in, and just towards the end, they cut communications with Jeep, who the brand was. They stopped talking to them about it just before they went public on it. So they kind of did a 1-2, the sucker punch onto Jeep about it. that was a very public case, but then Jeep came out and said, these guys spent a year and a half on doing that. They spent a year and a half on braking, and all Jeep had to do was issue a patch. And to your point, once they knew about it, they were able to fix it. Joel, do you notice this being something that may be a problem for people in the future with their cars?
Well, I mean, and right after that incident, there was one with a Corvette, if I remember correctly, a GM one that happened right after that, and they used the OnStar because OnStar is connected digitally with wireless transmission. And I think that, especially with Teslas, which are connected and they do over-the-air updates for software. And Tesla's really just really a computer. It's a battery pack and wires and software. We can run into this issue. It's definitely a future issue. I think it's really early stages. I mean, like you said, that took a year and a half. This is not something as simple. Most of these cars are not being wirelessly updated. They have to go to a dealer for a patch or plug in a USB port to do it. But as we have more cars like Teslas that are having wireless connections, that are being over-the-air updated with software, I think we do have a vulnerability issue that automakers are going to have to address and be proactive on. And it's not going to be simple as, a bug came out or a virus came out, we got to patch it. You're going to be more proactive on that, because then otherwise we're going to have cars crashing around.
Do we need to separate what a car can get to? So, for instance, if you can get to the emergency braking system on the internet, do we need to separate the chips out in the car, separate the processors out in the car, and put a computer that can be connected to the air and one that can't be connected to the air?
Well, good luck with that. The modern car works on a thing called a CAN bus, which is essentially an in-car network that connects all this stuff. But at the same time, another big piece of news this week was that 20 automakers signed on to an agreement to have automatic emergency braking going on until by 2022. And what that means is that in order to have things like adaptive cruise control and automatic emergency braking, you have to be able to connect the brakes, the throttle, and the radar system that's looking forward and scanning for obstacles. And all of that stuff is also connected to the GPS. Well, the GPS is pulling in a signal, so now you've got a place where a signal can come in. There are what the book calls attack surfaces in things like the infotainment system, the OnStar or OnStar analog that most cars have right now, that are going to allow the hackers to get into the car. And once they're in, as you said, mischief can be managed. And so good luck with getting people to disconnect those functions.
Well, they may be forced to, I guess, if there's some kind of legislation or some kind of... And I get that it's difficult. I guess it's super, super difficult. All right, when we come back on Test Miles, we're going to talk... first of all, I should ask you, Jeff, where can we read the article?
You can read the article at digitaltrends.com.
All right.
It's right up on top in the cars section.
All right. Go to digitaltrends.com, read the car section. Jeff contributes some very fabulous articles to them. Jeff, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about some products that you can use on your car, and I want to touch on a couple of other things in car news as well. In the studio with us, Sean, Jen, Joel Feder, and Jeff Zerschmied. We'll be back on Test Miles. I'm Nick Miles.
It's Test Miles on FM News 101. Test Miles, like NASCAR, but with one right turn. TestMiles.com.
From the Test Miles Studios, America's Car Radio Show, I'd like to thank you for being part of the Car Nation.
Last fun fact of the day, Nissan's 45th anniversary gold edition of the 2016 GTR sports car they will only make 30 of them that they will send to the United States. And the entry cost will be $130,000.
103,000, isn't it? 103,000. But, even so, it's still a week's wages for Jen. All right.
That's after you add the dealer markup on it.
Oh, yeah. Well, the dealer markup will probably be another 25,000. Sean's right. I've been driving the QX80, actually. This is sort of the Range Rover competitor. It's huge, but I love it. I really do. I just feel... So I got to chat for a while in New York with Tony Swan, who, is Car and Driver's writer for years and is just one of the staples in the whole car industry. And Tony and I have one thing in common. We love big cars. Like, I know that certain people in this world, like Joel, love his, you like your Corvettes and you like fast cars.
Hey, whoa. I love the Escalade just as much as the next American.
Right.
What's up?
But you're especially excited when you get a Corvette because you can take that fuse out and make the exhaust sound really great.
I have no idea what this guy's talking about.
Right?
No idea.
But I tell you, the QX80 I really love. The tri-zone automatic temperatures, the keyless entry, keyless start. I like to. Oh, by the way, Ryan and I went shopping yesterday. We were out in the car and we were just like hanging out together. It has the longest range on the key fob of a car I've ever seen. From inside the store, I can start the car.
18 car spots away. We were 18 car spots away, and it still unlocked it and lifted the trunk.
And started it. It was, I think
It's really helpful for short people like Nick.
A distance of my height makes a change in how far away
Nice
the car
running start.
Yeah, it's a running start.
It has, great driver's seat memory, all the luxury accoutrements, 5.6 V8 engine, 400 horsepower. I did notice when it has like an automatic choke in it, when you start it in the morning, it feels like you got your foot flat on the floor with the gas pedal. It's like, it's good sound effect there. 7-speed automatic transmission, a rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. 20 miles a gallon is the best you're going to get out of it. Against the Yukon Denali, the Lexus LX 570, Cadillac's Escalade. Five different trim levels on this vehicle. Navigation, guidance, the really cool button on the inside that flips the seats up and down just by the push of a button, which Ryan was desperate to do with someone sitting in the seats.
It's my favorite.
There's probably a safety system somewhere in there. It'll cost you between $64,000 and $88,000. See, it's even cheaper than the Nissan GTR Special Edition. I'll have two of them. All right, Ryan, you've been testing a product. What have you been on this week?
Well, this week we've been testing out something called Spray Wax, brought to you by Detail Solutions, Auto Solutions here in Gladstone, Oregon.
And how is it? Tell me what it does. Tell me how it works.
It basically a quick clean if you need just to throw it into the show or you want to bring it to Cars and Coffee real quick.
I thought you had to spend a week polishing the thing before you put it to Cars and Coffee.
Oh, you can do that, or you can just spray a little bit of that quick detailer on there and get the job done.
If you didn't already know this, Joel is half of the organization team of Cars and Coffee and spends all his free time, which he has very little of, by the way. Congratulations on the new baby. What's his name?
Seth.
Seth. And now you have Rhea and Seth.
We have Seth Allen and Ray and Marie. That's right.
And you
two
have-
kids, and I'm 30 years old. My hair's falling out.
That's why. And the very little sleep Gene is kicking in with. I mean, he said, I got to sleep till 2 a.m. this morning.
Hey, I got coffee. It's all good. I got a coffee machine.
So it's just a spray on and wipe off type of situation, or is there polishing involved?
Yeah, no, it's just a spray on, mix it around a little bit. It takes the dirt off and leaves an amazing shine right behind. It's pretty much the last step after you do sealant, wax, and everything. It's just a final little extra protection on there.
So it protects it or it cleans it?
It protects it. It is going to clean it slightly. It's not, if your car's muddy, it's not going to get the mud
Against the
off of it.
competition, do you like it?
Yeah, definitely. I love the smell of it. It's great to work with. It smells like you're at the beach.
I have a picture of you sitting in the trunk going, it smells really good, this stuff. It's like
Actually,
filling up
how
your...
I review everything. I have to smell and taste it first.
It's like, I hope you don't. I have this thing when I fill my car up with gas. You get that occasional whiff where it just smells kind of good, and it scares me a little bit. I could be
And this is why Nick thinks like he does.
I have brain damage from too much gas. Against its competition, you like it? Think it's worth it?
Against its competition, it's actually amazing. Its ease of use is incredibly faster than a lot of the other products that it's going up against.
Auto Solutions are a Gladstone company. We should support them because they're a Northwest company. Good guys.
Yeah, amazing guys. Jim Allison down there does a great job manufacturing these chemicals.
All right, Ryan. All right, Afterglow. If you need your car cleaned, Ryan's always the guy to do it. He does detailing all week long. So if you want your car to sparkle, if you happen to have a BMW M5 in the garage that needs a little bit of attention, then just give Ryan a call. Joel, what's coming up on some of your brands this week? You got some good reveals?
Just today, Model 3 from Tesla's being revealed later this week. Today, John Volker, we had a breaking exclusive report. The actual reservation criteria for that will go live on Thursday to reserve a Model 3. Went live on Green Carports today. So you can go see what they're going to demand. They're going to demand $1,000 from you on Thursday morning to deposit and reserve a Model 3 before they show the car on Thursday night. And you could take, 1, 2, who knows how many years to get your car.
How many are they going to reservations do you think they're taking?
I'm sure they'll take all the reservations.
Really? Because then they might be sold out. People will be. I bet you they get to a stage.
Well, you can reserve a car and then it'll just take, a couple years.
All right. It's like any of those cars in the UK now. They have some cars that you can reserve without seeing them. They haven't even built the prototypes yet. Not me. I'm sticking with my QX80, my Land Rover, my Suburban. I want my big cars. Thanks, Joel. You can find him at Green Car Reports, Motor Authority, and Car Connection. Ryan from Afterglow. Sean, Jen, and I will be working on Test Miles this week along with Jeff Zerschmidt. Go to testmiles.com 24/7. We're there. Get all your latest car information, and you can see the cars from the New York International Auto Show. That video will be up later today. I'm Nick Miles. This is Test Miles. Stay connected.
Favorite us, tweet us, friend us, love us, all at testmiles.com.